Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
The First Lady of New York Radio, Joan Hamburg. Entertaining and informative. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
I'm very excited to talk to Jimmy Smits, who's got yet another hit show called East New York. He's had a lot of hit shows, including LA Law, NYPD Blue, and this one, for when I first heard from my cousin, Richard Kind, who's in this, that it was a great cop show, I thought, even though it's my cousin, do we need another cop show? And you know what? We did. We do. It's a great show, and Jimmy Smits is one of the stars in this show and having a good time. And now, straight from Los Angeles, you must be tired. I feel guilty.
No, don't feel guilty at all. Hi, Joan. How are you? Good afternoon to you.
And
good morning over here, but hi. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm happy. I'm happy that you're talking about your cousin Richard and the show, which is doing really well, and we'll see if it's a hit. It's got all the makings.
No, I think it's some shows are very hard to tell. You keep hearing, you've got to get used to it. It's this show. No, I think it came in really fast, and that everyone who's seen it, one of our producers was turning it on. She hadn't seen it, and she said, "I'm hooked. I'm getting addicted to this." And, and these kids, television, they watch it all the time. So I think you've got a hit. There are a lot of people talking about it. And it's from your old neighborhood.
From my old neighborhood, yeah. I mean, well, that's one of the reasons why I'm on, besides the fact that I get to work with your cousin, Richard.
No, but really, what? Because of East New York?
It's one of the reasons why I signed on, because I didn't think it was in the cards for me to do a procedural show, which I've done a few, and B, a cop show, but it was a few friends of mine who I've worked with before both on LA Law and NYPD Blue, who are involved in the creative aspect of the show in terms of the writers of the pilot and the director, producer, and writers that were involved with this. And when they said, they're getting ready to do another cop show, and what's it called? East New York. Hey, did you guys know that I'm actually from that neighborhood? Let me read this thing. No, I didn't say I'm in right away. But no, I'm just happy to be involved in this, and it's because the writing material is really, it's good on the page, Joan. When it's good on the page and the characters kind of pop out at you, and you feel like the audiences are going to be able to engage with these characters and go for the ride with these characters because they're quirky or they have something that they're, in their past, and the audience gets to know about that, then they're happy to take the ride and solve whatever the crime is, or, the police procedural part of it. That's what I think is a good procedural show.
Yeah, no, and there are issues that everyone is concerned about today that a lot of cop shows don't deal with, like community policing and what it really means, and can it really possibly happen?
Absolutely, and that's the kind of springboard for what we're doing thematically, because you have, without propagandizing, because we're a show about entertainment, but we're dealing with the relevant issues that are facing law enforcement today. And so the premise of the show is a police precinct in this neighborhood, East New York, which is a changing kind of neighborhood facing gentrification and all of that. And you have at the helm of this police command this woman who is trying to institute these new community relations aspects of what law enforcement could and should be about. So that's our kind of springboard with all of these characters, and yeah, it's like you say, it's relevant to what has happened certainly in the past couple of years that has been brought to light in terms of law enforcement transgressions. But at the same time, it also deals with the responsibility that law enforcement has to the community as being guardian and not a warrior. But at the same time, what the community's responsibility is, because ultimately, when something goes wrong, you're dialing 911. So that synergy that has to happen.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting, and especially a neighborhood where you grew up like East New York and is changing by the minute. And
Sure.
the gentrification and all of these issues, and the police have to be able to grab this and understand this and work within the premises of this.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, well, we'll try and paint as much as possible a kind of even-handed picture as to what the problems are and what maybe some answers could be. And again, within the realms of a network television show that's main function is to entertain at the same time.
right.
So I hope we get to do all of that. The best shows can make you laugh and cry, and at the same time give you an insight as to human behavior and what's things that are relevant that are happening in your everyday life.
Well, that's what this show looks like. It's doing and is going to do. There's a reality about it where we can watch it and really get hooked in. And that doesn't happen with every show. Have you seen big changes in that neighborhood that you grew up in?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been. We moved back from Puerto Rico in the late '60s, and so I did my junior high school, and first college years there. And at that time, it was a neighborhood that was going under a change, but it has always been, a lower middle class, working neighborhood, immigrant neighborhood, people coming to this country trying to do better for their families, no matter if it was the 40s, the 50s, the 70s,
Right.
the 80s. And yeah, there've been changes. I mean, the other day but I'm astounded sometimes because the other day we were shooting outside at an area that I remember walking up and down under the L tracks on Livonia Avenue, where the New Lots train, and New Lots, and the history of New York. That was a section of New York that had new lots of land, and this area that I remember being an abandoned kind of tenement had been leveled, and it's been turned into this really beautiful community garden where people are planting vegetables, and there's a stage that they're setting up, and a gazebo, and basketball courts on one end, and you can't come into the park unless you have good intentions and partake. Those kind of things. It's called community success gardens.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things where you turn blight into beauty. It warms my heart that those things happen all over New York City.
And you can present it so that people can see it and believe it instead of all the bad stuff that people love to watch on TV.
Absolutely.
No, it really makes
We're doing that.
It makes a huge difference. Now, you live in here. I don't mean necessarily there, but you're not living in L.A., are you?
I go back and I'm back and forth, depending on where the job is.
Of course.
But my base is in Los Angeles now, because some of the shows that I've worked on in the past have been here. But I've always gone back and forth and love being part of the theater. I miss the theater, so it's great being there, shooting there, and being able to see my friends in wonderful shows, because the theater's coming back after the COVID pandemic in a great way.
Yeah, it is, and it's been crowded.
Yeah.
I love if you go to a matinee and you see lines again going down the street with people waiting, because the theater is without question the heart of this town, and we missed it desperately. And so, having people be able to go back. But on the other hand, I went to see a musical recently, and I couldn't believe when I looked at the ticket prices. $275 for an orchestra seat. That's a little much.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a lot. It's a lot. I'm not going to defend that one, Joe.
No,
it's a lot.
You can't. It is a lot, and we understand it. It takes a lot and costs a lot to put it on, but you still want people. When I was a kid, every Saturday we'd come into the theater, and my mom would just say, "Pick a show, any show." And we would just pick a show. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
And of course, all fell in love with it. So your career, from the time you were just a kid, has really been flourishing. You hit it right from the start.
Well, I mean, I've been lucky, Joan, in terms of having people that have mentored me and pushed me to the next level. In a time where I could have made really bad decisions, there was always a teacher along the way that kept on saying, maybe you should think about going to college, or hey, you should think about going to graduate school because you're interested in the classics and Shakespeare and all of that.
But you listened, and that makes the difference.
It's hard to talk to kids about things like that now because of, I don't know, social media and TikTok and what
you have
celebrity has become.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's, for me, it sounds corny, but education has always been the key. It's the springboard to so many things. And if you want a life in this business, anyway, you have to have a kind of toolbox.
Exactly.
And I guess you can get that toolbox in a lot of different ways. But in my personal story, it was the educational route helped so that I can do the kinds of things that I'm doing now, is trying to do being versatile as an actor and show different sides and do different kinds of things.
No, and was it family that influenced you, or school? I know you had mentors along the way, but was education a big push from your parents? Like, you got to go and get this or do that?
Yeah, absolutely. It was that dream that you hear over and over again about people coming to this country and saying we were here to do better, and we're going to strive as much as possible to do better. And frankly, my family didn't have any kind of perspective about the entertainment industry at all, so they were very wary when I first started showing interest in things like that. But they've been so supportive and helped as much as they could along the way.
And now, of course, they must be all excited. You've had a lot of hits, and this new one looks like it's going to be a big hit too, and it deals with issues that have a very important reality. Have you noticed a lot of changes in the issues now?
Well, Joan, certainly what we've been through in the last couple of years, not only because of the pandemic, but the BLM movement and my mentioning the what I term transgressions of law enforcement that have happened, that have come to light, maybe because of technology and the fact that people have video cameras on their phones,
social media.
Whatever the reason, they've come to light in a way that can't be denied. So the only way to really deal with this in a positive way is to shift the paradigm with regards to law enforcement anyway, in terms of what their responsibility is and how they really need to react on a daily basis with the communities that they're supposed to serve.
Right, and your character works with the political professionals, the mayors and people that really matter in these cities, and we don't always see that in these shows. We often see antagonism and anger and each side trying to get rid of the other one. But I thought that was a pretty interesting take, that
Well, it's a brushstroke that we're trying to put into the show, Joan. Again, the show takes place in this East New York section of Brooklyn, and it's the station house, and the woman, Regina Haywood, who is the captain or commander of this particular precinct, and my character is the borough commander, so of the northern part of Brooklyn, so he has a lot of different commands, and he's trying to support this idea that this woman has of this idea of community policing, and him being himself from maybe a different era because he's older than her, has had to maneuver the system in a different kind of way. So this idea of having to deal with the system and the politics of in any city, it comes into play with someone who is young and has ideas of how to institute these new kinds of policies. So it's something that's happening, but at the same time, it's good fodder for stories as well.
Right, great, and there's plenty of stories coming from this. So, what else is on Jimmy Smits' plate? Any time for anything else right now?
Well, I'm always in the process of partnering up with people of like minds, creatives who are interested in telling good stories and seeing if there's any value for me to do things on the other side of the camera as well, on the producerial level. So I'm always out there. Talking to people and working with, finding out information about stories that interest me and trying to pitch them to, the network studios to see if I can do some work on that side as well in terms of storytelling.
Yeah, that should be good. Interesting. That's where it is a lot these days.
Yeah, I mean, it's you got to be able to, do something for yourself as well, right? So,
maybe a little Broadway, just to.
Oh well, that's
Cream.
definitely in the cards. I mean, we're like violins, right? We got to keep them tuned up, and for me, the only way to do that, and Richie, he knows them better than anyone, right? The only way to do that is to keep at it and doing
exactly. Keep plugging
a little bit of everything.
And
I'm having such fun working with him. It's great that Richard has the opportunity to do this and show a different side of himself as well.
Oh, I
but
know.
he brings such a joy when he's on set every day. But at the same time, he's doing this take on this character that you see in these procedural shows that's the kind of like
they're not
the person
funny.
who knows a lot because of computers and technologies. But we're spinning it on its head because he knows stuff because of his intellect.
Yeah.
And it's been great watching him kind of like flourish with this. And you've been talking about the personal aspects of the characters, and he's had a chance in the last couple of episodes that are coming up to have that as part of his character as well.
And it's so interesting because our family was not in, like many of our families, in the entertainment business. And not only do we have actors like Cousin Richie, but we have two of the relatives too. The cousins are, one's a writer, director, producer. Another is also a very well-known director and producer. Like, where did all this stuff come from? My father was in the dress business. We didn't know from this stuff. So,
but I bet the family loved telling stories, right?
They are all storytellers. Everyone tells a story. That's
right. If it's around the dinner table or in front of the television set, or
tell
I don't know.
story.
In my house, it was around the poker table sometimes that I would see my dad. That they love telling stories and sharing their family history and the history of the family. I think that's where it all begins, and basically that's what. Yeah, right. We're storytellers and passing that on.
Yeah, and if you're a good storyteller, you can be a good actor, actress, whatever. because
It helps.
It helps.
It does
you
help.
Get the attention, and you learn how to do it. Anyway, we're big Jimmy Schmidt fans. Good luck with the show. Yes,
God bless you. Thank you.
You're a wonderful actor, and you do all kinds of roles. And this is really an interesting role too, because there's something about this that grabbed us all. So, continued
Thank you,
success.
Joe. We're having a lot of fun. It's a great ensemble cast and a really talented actors. Some have been around Broadway and done a lot of theater, and some newbies there that are really, really, really talented. So I'm just happy to be aboard, and
Well, and
like Richard, we're going to tell good stories.
That's Good Stories, Sunday at 9:00 on CBS. If you haven't watched it, tune in because you're really going to be happy. It's going to keep you a perfect end through the weekend. Take care of yourself, Jimmy. We'll talk again.
Thank you, Joan. God bless you. Take care.
I'm Joan Hamburg, and you're listening to WABC. And, of course, we have much more to come, so stay tuned.